I'm so excited to talk about Blade right now because really it's a fun thing. With any fresh installation of Laravel, you will have this route and representing this view. I'm using Laravel here, so this is the project name.test, and as you can see we have this welcome view. I would like to start by simply deleting this view, so let me go to it, I will delete it, and I would like to create a new file called home.blade.php. Inside this one I'm going just to write hello from home page, and since we deleted that file I have to get back to my routes and I have to fix this, right? Because this view does not exist anymore. I will write just home, let me go ahead and refresh, and this is it, nothing fancy here. But let's just go ahead and simply dive into how to create a layout. So inside this folder I'm going to create a new file called, inside a folder called layouts, I'm going to create a new file called website.blade.php, and this is going to be kind of like the primary layout. Inside it I'm not going to have anything fancy in HTML, maybe a head, title, and then there's the body. And here I'm going to say hello from website layout, and here we will have some title. So if I would like to simply use this layout inside my home view, the first thing to do is simply to extend this layout. So we have another directive for that, it's called extends, and then I'm going to pass simply the file name. So it's inside the folder layout.website. What this does, simply I will inherit everything in my parent, then I can display my content. But where to display my content? Obviously, this one is right now floating in the air, so it will simply be displayed above it, which does not make sense, right? So we will fix that in a second. But for now, I would like to grab your attention into the title as well. So the title does exist inside the main or primary layout. However, inside my home page, I would like to write home page. If we have another page, I would like to write the title of that page. So in order to do this, let me introduce you to a new directive called yield, which means in my master or primary layout, my children or every layout which is extending me, I'm going to yield for them, especially in this place. So let's just give this yield directive a name, which is title, which means inside my home page, I have a new section which is injected into my parent layout. In this case, it's called title. I'm going to write here home page. So I will see this change by simply going to my browser and hit refresh. And as you can see, yeah, indeed it got reflected. So let's just find out another way using the yield directive as well to inject the content of my home page in the correct location. So let me just go to the main layout here, and I will have just one more yield, and here is going to be my content, which means in my home page I can have one more section. So this is going to be the content, and I can simply have my content written here, which means inside my layout we have this sentence, and then the children who are extending this layout can simply inject their content. And indeed we have here hello from website layout, and then we have hello from home page. But logically speaking, most of the time definitely you are not going to have one line of code. If you have long content, you can simply write it this way, section and end section. So let me just write hello from homepage again, and nothing has been changed. At least we are doing it properly, so we will have so long content here. Now most likely you are not seeing any benefit of using this form, but let me just give you just one more step to ease things out and to explain it a bit more. In real website we will have here a header and navigation menu. Let's have an ordered list, inside it maybe a list item, and inside that an ahref tag. Let me just multiply all of those maybe with 4 or 5 links. I will write quickly a link, and then maybe I'll create a sequence. Okay, so as you can see, we have a navigation link which is shared across all my pages because I wrote it here inside the main layout, which means if I to go there and if I to refresh, voila, we have links inside this page. So let's just go ahead and create a different page, maybe about us. So I will go back and I will create one more Blade file called about.blade.php. And inside this one, remember the first thing to do is to extend my layout. And just right after that, I can just simply go ahead and use the sections. So we will have a section called content, and here I will say hello from about us page. And I would like to have one more section, which is simply the title. I'm going to write here about us. So let's see this route, but we didn't define the route yet. Okay, cool. Let me create one more route, and this one is going to be about-us, and then the view is going to be only about. So let's get back and let's just go to this link, which is about-us. And we are sharing the same content, which is common across all the layouts. I hope with this demonstration you are good to simply go along with me so we can copy this HTML file and create it as a layout template. I'm going to just simply go ahead and clone this repo. Don't worry, I'm going to share the link of this repo with you guys inside the video description. But for now, in my case, I'm going to clone it, but if you wish, you can go ahead and download it. I will go to my terminal and I will have git clone as a command, then I will paste the URL of the repo. Now, since it's done, I'm going to open this folder. Inside this, we have all the files that we need. So I will just start by simply copying the folders only. and I will go to my project. And inside any Laravel project, you just have to place all of your front end or static content, or in other words, public content, inside the public folder. So I will go ahead and paste all of those. And now we have the front end content. So far we have so many files. So I would like to just clean up the version control system. So I will go ahead and commit some of those changes. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to commit them separately. And then we have the public folder, which is going to be a separate commit. So maybe we are going to tweak those in a bit, so I'm not going to commit them as a change, but let me just go ahead and for a fact delete the about us for now, and I will just revert this code as well so we can start fresh. So as a starting point, you should just take one page as example. And in my case, I would like to take the index view as an example because it's most likely the one with the richest content. And I know for a fact, only in homepage we have a full width kind of container, but all of the others are fluid containers. So let's just make it as our starting point. So I will go ahead and open the whole HTML project using WebStorm as an IDE. And here we have the whole HTML template. So the first thing I will do is I will copy the whole HTML file into my main layout. So let's go to Blade, and I will go to my homepage, which I'm inheriting website as a layout, and I will just replace the whole content with the HTML that we just copied. And let's begin by just changing first of all the title. Here I would like to have a yield, which is the title, and next to it I will have -Lara Recipes, and maybe an emoji of a carrot as well. Next thing I would like to change, which would be the content and the header. So let's begin with the header first of all. I would like to just extract this whole HTML code into its own component. And in order to do so, I can use components or I can use subviews. In my case, I'm going to begin with the subview, so we can begin with the easy stuff first. I will just go ahead and extract this view into something called partials, and then inside that I will have header. And as you can see, it did almost a good job, except we don't need a backward slash, we can use it with a dot. So right now we have underscore partials, and inside that we have the header. So this is cleaning up our layout, which is good. So here we have the full width container, and just below it we have a different container, which is the fluid one. I would like to take the content or grab the whole content of this portion and again make it as a yield. So I would like to have one more yield, and here I might call it as a pre-content because this is a full width content, or I can name it full width content. And let's go to our home page and have one more section, and this one is going to be the full width content, and I will finish it with end section. Inside it I will just paste what I just copied from there. Let's continue cleaning up our layout. Right now we have one more container. Inside it there is a main tag. So let me just clean up first of all the main content. Here I will have the yield again as content, and we know for a fact that our homepage, it has one more yield, which is this one. So I'm going to paste what I just copied, and let me delete this comment, and I will get back to my website. We have right now a footer. I will go ahead again and do it manually so I can separate it into its own partial file. I will just cut this content and I will make one more partial file. So partials and then a footer. And I will go ahead and create this one. Inside it I will just paste. And now our main layout is way more cleaner in comparison to what we had earlier. Now it's a good timing to see what we just did together. So I will get back to my home page and I will view it. And indeed we have the website up and running right now, and everything works just fine. So let's start by making this bad boy dynamic as much as we can. So I will begin by simply doing the carousel, but let's just lean into it. So first thing first, I would like to show you how to pass data into the views. So we will get back to our controller, and I will begin by simply showing you the simplest form ever, which is a simple variable. Let's say I have a name, which is Mo, and I would like to pass this variable to my view. In order to do so, Laravel has multiple ways as usual because it's really syntactic sugar. I will begin with the most primitive way, which is passing second parameter to the view function. You can pass an array and anything you write to the left, which would be the variable name inside the view. So in my case, let's say the name. And in the second hand, you would write the value. So let's say name. In order to just avoid any ambiguous information, I'm going to write here something like foo and something here like foo. So there is a variable called foo, and I can just pass it to home view under a new name, which means if I were to go to home page right now, and at the very top, maybe inside our full width content, I would like to have an h1, and inside it I can use that variable. So right now we are writing HTML. If you would like to write a blade or any PHP, you just have to surround anything you would like with two curly braces. So in my case, it's just name, which is the variable. This will echo it immediately. So let me get back to here and I will refresh. As you can see, we have Mo as a variable. So if I'm maybe to write anything next to it, so I can say hello and then the name, simply it will be written like this. So this is nice. However, let me just give you two ways to pass data to your view. So we saw this first one. You can do the same exact thing with the with function. So you can just say with, and then the variable name, which is in my case name, and the value of that is the foo. Again, this will be exactly equivalent to what we just wrote. The last thing to show you here is simply if it's a coincidence that the variable name is exactly like what you want it to be there, so you can just use that helper function called compact, which is going to just create a new array based on the matching names of what you have right now. So this is exactly equivalent to just having an array, and then the key is exactly the same as the value. If you have such kind of array in any place, you can use compact if you wish. Let me do a quick code format and get back to my code to make sure that everything is working just fine. So we saw this cool thing. Let me just show you one more example on how to pass data, and this time I'm going to make it a little bit just complex data, kind of complex. So I will have an array of things that I'm going to buy. For example, I'm going to buy milk, and I'm going to buy eggs, for example, and I'm going to buy, I don't know, I would like to buy maybe iPhone 15 since it just came out. So this is an array. I can pass it as an array, and I can even rename it here as items. If you have a variable like an array and you pass it to the view, you can't simply echo it very easily. So if you to do such a thing, which is right now here, we call it as items. Unfortunately, if you to do so, it will give you an exception, which is an HTML special characters, because this one is an array and you can't echo it as a string. So just so you know, if you to face any kind of exception, make sure that you are not echoing or trying to print an array. So let me just fix this one by simply retrieving the first item of an array. I can do so right now and things are really nice. So I would like to just loop through those items. So to show you how to do so, I can simply just wrap, for example, the h1 with a for each, and then I can just go ahead and echo each item separately. So I will use it as any normal for each, you know it. So we have items, and then it will be like an item, and I can right now spit out only this exact item. Again, code reformat, and let's see it in the view. So now we have things to buy, which is nice. Cool. Now, with this in mind, I'm just going to give you one last thing, and then I will just go ahead and wrap this up. With this directive in mind, which is for each, I'm just going to give you one more blade directive, which is for else. For each is really famous, but for else is not much. You can end it again with for else. It has one more property, which is empty. You can pass anything you wish here, and this part will be displayed if the provided array or collection is empty. So in my case, I would like to have no things to do, and this is just my list of to-dos. Let's just, I don't know, things to do. So right now, this part won't appear at all because simply I have an array which is filled. But just in case, if you to have, let me just get back to my view. If you to have an empty array, and unfortunately, if you try to loop through them, they are empty. So you are being presented with no things to do. And with this, we are done right now with the blade directives, but we will learn about more advanced directives like stack and others. But now let's concentrate about simply making our homepage as dynamic as we can. So in this case, I'm going to retrieve the last most viewed recipes so we can use them as carousel items. So in order to do so, I will just define a new variable called carousel recipes. So I will retrieve from my database using my eloquent model, which is recipe, 3 recipes. And in order to do so, you just have to remember, you have to just use get or first in order to fire this query from the database. But remember, we said we would like to have the 3 most viewed ones. So I will order just before taking, I will order by the view count, and then we can take those. So view count and code reformat, and right now we have carousel recipes. I would like to pass this variable as carousel recipes to the view. Remember please that you can use compact anytime. So down the road, I'm going to use compact at any moment. Now let's just go ahead and use this variable inside my view. So I will get back to homepage, and right now I know for a fact that I can loop through those as an recipe carousel recipe item. So just let me go ahead and just display one piece of information out of this variable. But just before doing so, let me show you what will happen if you try to just spit out a whole new object. Fortunately, simply Laravel will just parse this data as a JSON. As you can see, it spit it out all, but as a JSON. So just take in your consideration if you to see anything odd like this, this means you are trying to ask Blade to echo or to print a whole object. But in my case, we would like to just access one piece of information, which is in this case, the title of the recipe. Now those attributes are dynamically available to you because we are using Eloquent, and every column you have in your database, which we wrote in our migration, will be available here. So let's see how title will appear right now. And indeed, we have 3 available recipes for us. So the next step is simply to make this dynamic.